cartels. This is a major issue, yes, but when you look at cartel, you realize that where cartels thrive is where public interest is compromised. Because if you are compromising public interest, the public interest, for instance, for sugar, is to have sugar producers, especially in Western Kenya and coast, to have their sugar factories operating. If there is a deficit, then we import with at the least cost, so that the consumers also benefit. So it's also a moral question and an integrity question that we need to, as a nominee, and if I get approved, why I'm saying I will fight cartels is that I will do whatever it takes to promote public interest and use the state agencies which are there, which can help me to promote public good and the public interest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Let me ask you 2 or 3 questions. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I ask if there will be smoke billowing out of Mumias in 100 days. He has not said.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Honorable Amisi. I know there is a program for leasing for those factories, which is ongoing, which has been initiated, and I know there's a process. I have to check what stage they are in. Sugar is one of the major subsectors. We will look at it and see how we can move it very fast forward.
They are requesting and they are asking to hear from you as a cabinet for agriculture. What plans do you have?
No, it's just a nominee.
Yes, a nominee.
Yes.
What plans will you have if you are nominated on perishable goods like tomatoes, sukuma wiki, cabbage, in their market at the local end tail market?
Yes, Murugara.
Just let's combine this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's combine this with the great people of Meru and Embu. The crop they have, the cash crop called Mira. We've not spoken about this. Mira has a lot of issues because in our statute books, it's a lawful crop. And we can't take that away from them. In the neighboring countries like Tanzania, they say it isn't a lawful crop, and therefore you can't export it there. Recently, some counties in the country started saying, sorry, they don't welcome it there. It's not a crop, it's other things which they possibly were imagining. And at the end of the day, there is a bit of uncertainty regarding the crop Mira in the country. Now, what policies would you put in place to ensure that at least in the country, Mira, which is Mira and Muoka, which is a lawful crop, does not suffer the consequences it suffered recently? I am asking the nominee, not you.
Speaker, maybe just to supplement what the Honorable Mula is asking, the nominee could tell us, leveraging from your experience with the World Bank and other donor organizations, including the EU that you've worked with, how would you help to harness resources? Because what Honorable Mula is asking is critical. I know government, through the markets that are being developed, they have cold storage facilities for dealing with the perishable products like the tomatoes Honorable Mula is asking. But how would you leverage that to ensure that we even access more resources from the donor community in the local markets to have cold storage facilities around the farms, so that when farmers harvest their tomatoes and the price is bad, of our young people. But also you mentioned something that you worked on livestock insurance. I don't know whether you said you did that working with the EU or with the World Bank. And the president has already considered to the country one of the problems that his former cabinet had was a failure in communication. I don't know what you will do as, if approved as a cabinet secretary, to ensure that there is proper communication to Kenyans on that livestock insurance that you worked on in your consultancy life, to increase the uptake of this livestock insurance, because the uptake is still very low. Many farmers still lose their livestock during the drought and floods, but they don't know that there is such a product. And what would you do to communicate better to ensure there is better uptake of that product around the country?
Yes, Dr. We're running out of time on you. Can you answer quickly those last interventions?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. On perishability, I think the leader of majority has helped in that, saying that yes, there are programs which are run on markets. Definitely, we at the value chains, as we look at the value chains, definitely one of the interventions is to make sure that we minimize the post-harvest losses, because that is cut across the board, tomatoes and perishables and even other crops. So minimizing post-harvest losses is a part of food security, because why do you spend a lot of time, money and time, and then you lose it along the chain? So we will look at the programs which can be able to help with the issues to do with the perishables. Mera Mogoka, I know there is a problem, there is an issue between the producing counties and the consuming counties. And what can happen? Yes, this one is a big issue, and as the incoming, if I'm approved, is the the two sides have, and I'll be a good, and proper communication. Yes, if I am approved, I'll promote that insurance. I worked on this concept from the World Bank and the EU side. We need to promote it. But generally, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would also like to say that there are many things which are happening in the ministry and the docket, but communication has not been good. So if I'm approved, one of the areas I'm determined and I'm prepared to do is to improve on communication, so that the members of the public knows what is going on. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Let me ask you just 2-3 questions. Number one, just a follow-up. The sugar industry in particular, and many other crops, you said you have been in the research sector as well. If you look around the country, research in our food and crop production is virtually dead. The sugar research, dead. Rice, coffee is limping, name it. Tell Kenyans and give them hope how you are going to revive the component of research to improve crop production. Number two, maize farmers. Our maize farmers are very hardworking. They suffer when they produce less. They suffer even more when they produce more because of market. what are you going to do in terms of policy intervention to create a proper marketing system and program for maize and other cereal farmers in the country? Did I hear you say you participated in the creation of AFA?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Are you aware that now, out of the outcry for the failure of AFA to manage the agricultural sector, it is being dismantled? There's been a Tea Act now, born out of AFA. There's a sugar bill coming to the end, born out of AFA. There's a request on my table for a maize bill, moving away from AFA. There's a pyrethrum bill, moving out of AFA. And all this dismantling of AFA, does it point to your error of judgment in your previous engagement, that you as a consultant advised and participated in amalgamating all agricultural activities into one humongous act that didn't work and is now crumbling?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On research, I think, let me say on the onset that this is research is a mandate of the national government, and I agree with 100% with you. It has not been well in research. When you look at Caro, you look at coffee, you look at all the other sectors. And mainly, we have the capacity in terms of human resources. We have the infrastructure. Mainly, it is the issue about financing. And coming in, if I am approved as a cabinet secretary and coming from research, I will put my best foot forward, especially on the exchequer side, so that we convince the national treasury that agricultural research is very vital. If you don't have research, you don't have technologies. You don't have, so that we can get more resources going towards research, both in all the crops. Secondly, is the issue about farmers' participation in research. If you look at coffee, tea, they used to have a foundation where I used to work. Farmers were very happy. They used to